North and South Seafood and Smokehouse presents The Kelly Sheffield Show on 100.5 ESPN and the ESPN Wisconsin app. Alongside Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball head coach Kelly Sheffield, here's John Audius.
Hello, welcome in. It's the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. I'm John Audius, joined by Wisconsin head coach Kelly Sheffield. Team coming off a win on Sunday against Ohio State and getting ready for two top 25 teams on the schedule. We'll talk about Minnesota and Indiana, this week's opponents, coming up in just a little bit. And later on in the show, we'll take questions from you, the fans, for the head coach. But first of all, congratulations on the win on Sunday. You know, afterwards we talked, and the first thing you talked about, Kelly, was the defense that stood out to you. So tell me about the defense you saw on Sunday from your team.
Yeah, I thought we had a lot of positive touches at the net. I thought our backcourt was going and pursuing balls. We transitioned. We covered. We played with the tenaciousness that was certainly great to see, with such a fast turnaround going from the home to on the road in less than 36 hours.
And one of the stats you've been sharing with me that I appreciate is dig percentage, and that percentage that leads to attacks, and that percentage that leads to kills. Now, after the game, you also said that you said that everybody was reading the game and pursuing aggressively. And I'm guessing that all kind of goes in hand to hand with some of these numbers, because dig to kill percentage, I believe, was up around 36% against the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I mean, we were converting in transition. That was something we did not do very well the match before that. That was our first ball side out. So first ball side out is when another team is serving the ball and you get the first swing at that. We hit over 300 against Nebraska in that, which are numbers wise in the Big Ten would be in the top half of what our FBSO has been in the Big Ten matches. So, I mean, that's really high percentage against that team. Our transition numbers were the lowest of the season. So we weren't converting in transition. So then you got to look a little deeper. Why is that? Is that the quality of the digs? Is that the quality of the sets? Is that the set decisions? Is that how our attackers are working? Is that the areas of the court that we are hitting? In that case, it was yes to all those. But I thought we transitioned a lot better in the Ohio State match. Now, granted, we're not seeing quite the same level of defense, from Ohio State. That there's probably more holes in their defense for us to get into. But I loved our effort.
Mm-hmm. You also talked about, before the match, using the middle third of the court against the Buckeyes. You thought you did that? Did you think you did that well?
Yeah, we did. A little bit more range to our middles. I think Addie's getting a little bit more comfortable and being able to fire the ball in there. And, we went back row a little bit more. That's, I would say that those are some things that she's getting more and more comfortable doing, I would say, as we're moving forward.
I'm going to go back to the transition offense for just a second. And against Nebraska, you said it was one of the lowest of the season, and all those things that you then analyze after the fact. What went right, what went wrong. You said they kind of all didn't go in the right direction. Is there one that's more important? Like if the setter's decisions are better, is that usually tend to lead to better transition numbers, or can you pinpoint one? Or are they all kind of equal in balance?
It probably depends on who you're asking, right? Okay. If you're asking a setter, the setter is sitting there going, hey, my decision was just fine. My location, deal with it, and it's on the hitter, and vice versa. I mean, it's I don't know. You have a match like that, and I think sometimes people tend to look at just the results. We try to dive even deeper into that. For instance, that was the best passing match of the season for us. I mean, that is great. And right now it's the number 2 passing match of the season, because we passed even better than that against Ohio State, and that's great. I thought we did some nice things behind the service line. I think our first ball side out was really good. First ball side out has been an emphasis since Addie has taken over, that you're usually diving more into the serve receive and your serve receive offense and your out of system offense, and then transition tends to come a little bit later with the setter. And so we kind of, there's a little bit of a backing up when you have a new setter. I think that would be the case with, anybody that's, quarterback or point guard or whatever. I think that's just kind of a natural thing. And so transition is going to be a little bit more of an emphasis here in these next couple of weeks. And, the numbers have been good. We've actually been the best transition offensive team in the Big Ten this year, by the numbers. And so, but that's indicative of how good Nebraska played that match, and credit to them.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers for the other losses as far as the transition numbers. Obviously, you do, but so it basically kind of comes down.
130 against Texas in transition. We hit 171 in transition against Penn State. We hit 188 against USC in transition.
Okay. So there you go. You got the numbers right there in front of you. So, I mean, is it too simple to say in some of those matchups, in the matchup against Nebraska, that everything else kind of went to what you would expect or like, and it was just kind of one area of the game that decided it?
I don't know. I don't. It's a great question. I will say this, that is the biggest part. Statistically, when you kind of, one of the things that we try to do is you can get clouded by emotion. You can, your eyes can lie to you. And so, we try to really take deep dives into the stats and then get into the video from there. And so the biggest difference was that part of the game in that match.
Okay. And then finally, Natalie Wardlow, Friday against Nebraska, continued that into Sunday against Ohio State. Her serving has been, it's kind of taken a jump. And then you talked about on Sunday how she's now added a drop serve, and perhaps that could elevate her even more.
Yeah, it's really, if you kind of think about it, I mean, just coming in and serving, that's a tough deal. I mean, you're not in, and you're expected to come in and execute a ball with confidence that can get, it's got to be in, or nobody's happy. It's got to get them the setter on the run, or nobody's happy. You got to dig your position, or it's a wasted two subs right then. And you've got to go in there and execute one serve, and because there's no guarantee that you're going to get another one. And she hasn't been much of a server in her career. She certainly has never been a serving sub in her career. It's the runway in club volleyball is really, really short. The courts, there's just not a lot of room around the courts. And so that's one of the main reasons why players come into college, and their serve just aren't any good. They don't have much of a runway. So they take one or two steps and they just kind of put a cream puff serve in there. So she's trying to figure all of that out, of being over on the sideline for 10 minutes and then coming in and executing an elite serve right away, controlling her energy, her emotions, whatever that is, and be able to kind of dial in. And the Ohio State match is the first time we've kind of used a drop serve, which with how fast her drive serve can get on people, they're just dug in. And if you can add that, then that's going to just be really, really filthy. So she's progressing the way that I think we'd all hope.
Okay, very good. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, 2 top 25 teams on the slate for the Badgers. We'll talk about them next. Your questions coming up a little bit later on. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. And welcome back. It's the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. Badger fans, Wednesday night, Wisconsin takes on Minnesota. And yes, it's Chef Night. Yes, Chef Night, where the first 4,500 fans received their very own chef hat celebrating head coach Kelly Sheffield. Then on Sunday, against Indiana, join Wisconsin Volleyball for Stuff the Fieldhouse, benefiting the Goodman Community Center. Bring non-perishable food items to drop off at any gate to the Fieldhouse to help under-resourced folks in the Madison community celebrate Thanksgiving this year. All right, with Wisconsin head coach Kelly Sheffield, yes, Chef Night on Wednesday against Minnesota, number 22 in the country. They're kind of an interesting story. They've lost 4 starters to injury. Like I said, still in the top 25. What type of team is coming to the Fieldhouse on Wednesday?
Keegan's done a really good job with this group, and I mean they've got one of the absolute studs in the country, and Hansen on the outside. Swenson at the redshirt freshman setter is doing a really nice job, and they've got really nasty serves for 6 rotations. Their service pressure really puts a lot of people in tough positions. They don't have many hitting errors at all. They, offensively, they play, if it's not there, they keep the ball in play. And then they've got a workhorse that is taking a lot of big time swings, kind of fearless swings. And, they're playing good volleyball and are, pretty resilient group.
Yeah, obviously without all the injuries that they've had to deal with. And, you talked about Julie Hansen there, 4th in the Big Ten in kills per set. You called her fearless. And she'll take a lot of attacks. What kind of challenges does she present that you're going to have to be prepared?
Yeah, she kind of reminds me, her numbers are certainly, I think there's a similar playing style to like Grace Egan or Allison Jacobs from Michigan. That's not to be, I think she's putting up better numbers than the 2 names that I just mentioned, but I think their style of play, she's fast off the ground, can get on the ball really quick. Egan can kind of do that. That would be, we hoping that Grace is kind of on her way to kind of that. But one thing that's really impressed me about Hansen, if you go back and kind of look at, her hitting percentage every year, I mean, she just has continued to get better. And it's amazing of how many players just don't improve that much. It's sad, but she has. And that's a real credit to her and the coaching staff around her. She's really turned into an elite player.
And then on Sunday, another top 25 team. So back to back. And this is 18th ranked Indiana. In fact, Indiana's 18-4 overall as of this taping. And there's that scenario where if you both win leading into this matchup, both teams would have identical Big Ten records at 10-3. What do you see on the Hoosiers?
They've done a really good job of bringing in talent. They've got a really nice setter that is leading the way, they play hard. You're going to get that when you're playing an Indiana team, a team that just plays really hard. And when you play hard and you're confident, that can really kind of take you to another level, as well as having an elite setter that can kind of fling it around. And she does a really good job of that.
And and when I'm just looking at the numbers, their roster seems very balanced statistically. 3 players with 250 kills or more. But to put that into perspective, that range of those 3 players is from 254 to 268. So it seems like the ball's being spread out a little evenly there. How do you see that?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I probably will have a little bit more information on them in about 48 hours or so. The more of the focus has been on Minnesota, and obviously we're about ready to play our 6th game in 3 days, or third game in 6 days. And, so it's, I would say it's the knowledge at this point is probably a little bit more general than specific. on some things, but it's I mean, they're having a great season. I've been able to watch them on TV a couple times. Watched a little bit of film yesterday on them, but most of the focus has been on Minnesota and us.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, questions for head coach Kelly Sheffield from you, the fans. This is the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. It's the Kelly Sheffield Show on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. The Badgers facing Minnesota Wednesday night at the Fieldhouse. You can hear it on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network and the ESPN Wisconsin app. Then on Sunday, the Badgers take on another top 25 opponent when they face Indiana. All right, it is time for questions for the head coach. I put out the post on X. That's how you can ask a question in the future if you want to. So let's get right to it. Serena asks, what change are you advocating for next to make NCAA volleyball even more entertaining and keep gaining new fans? She adds, I would love to see the international style ball for women and ESPN telling more stories about the players and the programs, not just BTN.
Yeah, I mean, each of those need to happen. You know, we need to be moving to the international ball without question. I'd be all right if we even had a fewer subs. I'm not sure we're going to go to that direction yet. You know, we've telling the stories of our players is important. Getting our matches on the first couple rounds of the NCAA tournament would be pretty important. Extending our season would be a little bit more important. I'd love to see our season start 1 or 2 weeks earlier and kind of help with relieving a compression of our matches.
All right. Joey asks, earlier this season, maybe still, your two best passers statistically were pin hitters. Can you talk about what that means for your offense?
That means for our offense. Yeah, it's we see some different strategies, you know, like for instance, let's take last year. You know, Sarah Franklin was our best statistical passer, but actually when she passed the ball, it was our lowest FBSO, first ball side out. So sometimes you'll see people serve a team's best passer because their FBSO, the first ball side out percentage, is lower when that person passes in that rotation. And so I don't know. The one thing that I like about our group is it's not obvious who to serve. You know, we're getting different serving strategies about every match. Some people are trying to serve behind Addy. Some people are serving the front row hitter. Some are kind of ping ponging it around. There's been a lot of, you know, some people have just gone after the freshman. Some people have tried to wear down Mimi. You know, but those are probably our two best statistical passers, but they're all four of them are pretty close.
Okay. Another question comes in. Is there any plan for the Big Ten to switch replay systems? Is there a better system than what is being used currently in the conference? There's a bunch of questions in here.
We're under contract, and
Okay.
the Big Ten is, and we're getting to the end of that contract. And yes, there's better systems over there off the record. I would probably say that, but since we're under contract and this current system does a decent job.
What impacts decisions on match times more, TV or getting fans in their seats? Thinking later times on weeknights have to impact attendance.
Yeah, it does. I think we've been willing to do anything as a sport, certainly our program, to get us on television. I think there's starting to become we've got to apply a little bit more pressure for the people that are coming in-house and starting to change that a little bit. But yeah, I would say traditionally TV has had a little bit more of a leg up, but we've had the ability of turning down television if we wanted to. That's kind of a hard pill to swallow, though.
Yeah, for sure. Kurt asks, Mrs. Sheffield is coaching club volleyball for Madtown. As coaches, how are they alike and how are they different?
Oh, wow. Yeah, Kathy has a what is she coaching? 10 and unders, 11 unders. She just, her curiosity to learn, I think, is probably very, very similar. She does a great job. She does a great job with younger players and teaching them and, helping them through all the different things that you've got going on at that age and still having a whole lot of fun. She does a fantastic job and she works at it. She spends a lot of time trying to figure out, the practice plans and how to be better for her kids.
Christine asks, the Nebraska match highlighted the importance of an elite defense. What are the biggest needs at defense, and how do you go about improving our defense at this point in the season?
Yeah, we did not get going back. We were missing way too many digs, and then you need to know. Then you got to ask yourself why we're in the wrong positions. Was it techniques? We were very, very jumpy. Bouncing around more than what we normally are, and so that tells you that it's players that either had too many things kind of going on in their mind. But yeah, we missed too many digs that we typically are not missing.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, we've got time for one more. It looks like Kurt asks, in third set, BTN showed video of Charlie is setting in the pregame. Have you set milestones for her recovery? You ease Egan back into the lineup earlier. And would you foresee easing Charlie, if able to play, back into the lineup and running a 6-2 or a 5-1 with Horner front row setting?
Yeah. We are hoping to have Charlie back, right? It's but there is no timeline. It could be at any point, and or it might not be at all. It's we're not going to just put a date on there to make myself or whoever else feel a little bit better. We're going to let the rehab and her medical staff kind of dictate that. What does that look like coming back? I think everything is on the table if we get to that point. The suggestions that were thrown out there, yeah, those are possibilities. But I think we're still kind of in wait and see mode right now.
Okay, very good. That's the head coach of the Wisconsin Badgers, Kelly Sheffield. Wisconsin takes on 22nd ranked Minnesota at the Fieldhouse on Wednesday. Pre-match show at 6:30, first serve 7:05 on the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. Then Sunday, the Badgers take on 18th ranked Indiana, 12:30 the pre-match show, 1:05 first serve, also on the ESPN Wisconsin app and the Wisconsin Badgers Volleyball Radio Network. Coach, thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right, this has been the Kelly Sheffield Show, brought to you by North and South Seafood and Smokehouse.